Greetings! Welcome to the stream. Another day, another Cities Skyline broadcast. No major milestones going for this one. This is just going to be a bit of a gameplay. See how the city grows and expands. And just basically mess around. Yesterday's milestone was the 22,000 population level, which we achieved. Took a little bit longer than I expected. It took most of the hour of the stream. I don't expect to be hitting any milestones today. The next milestone is, I think it was 33. Let's have a look. 36, sorry, even more than I thought. So I still got 10,000, 10,500-ish to go to achieve that milestone. So that's not going to happen today. So we're just playing, just going to keep things ticking over. Maybe expand a bit. Maybe create a new district. Got noise pollution over here. It's not a surprise. It's all very near the water treatment. And let's get rid of this. We don't need that. What was I saying before I got distracted by noise? Yeah, maybe create a new district. We're at the city boundary this way. We've got a lot of space over here and down here. Or I could buy a whole new area and expand even more. I'm tempted to expand out this way. I could also expand out into the forest. Or up here over the river where we've got a rail bridge already if I wanted to extend the railway network. Or this way. We've already got a motorway connection, so over here, so I don't think that does too much in my favour. This is a different motorway connection by the looks of it. So if I expanded this way, we could connect in here. We could expand over this way and do the same thing with this motorway. Oh no, that goes round. Choices, choices. I also want to talk about GPUs and a potential computer upgrade. Am I actually broadcasting? You can't see me today. I don't know why. I just realised the webcam isn't actually active, but you can hear me. So that's okay. It's fine. You can't see me today. I'm hidden. But you can hear me. So yeah, I want to talk about potentially a GPU upgrade at some point. It's probably quite obvious. This is a little bit laggy. A few frame drops here and there maybe. What are we encoding at the moment? Targeting 30 frames a second, and we seem to be getting 30 frames a second, except when I move like that. As I spun around, we dropped down to 10 frames a second, 14, yeah, 13. So it's really dropped as I've moved around to this busier area. And I'm just going to have a little look at what's going on resources-wise in terms of the computer. And I'm absolutely maxing out my graphics card. The processor is hovering at 40%. But the graphics card is maxed out. RAM, 10 gigs used out of 16. So there's room for improvement as we go around this way. Do we see the frames increase? Let's go somewhere quieter. Less going on. Yeah, we're not doing particularly well in the old frame count, and I noticed this. I was looking back at past broadcasts. They all get archived here, and I was looking back at past broadcasts, and I was just noticing how jumpy it is, and with the frame drop and all that. So we're up to 18 frames now. It's a little bit of a quieter scene going on here. Less to encode, I suppose, as we go out. Not much going on in this view. Let's see if that picks up even more. We've got a bit of traffic and we've got trains. No, we're hovering around 18 frames a second, so it's not fantastic. Go right out. Let's have a look. There's not much drawing going on now. It's a very static image, so I would have thought the frame count might have jumped up a bit, but it doesn't seem to be doing that. Oh, is it a bird? Is it a plane? Is that a plane? Interesting. I don't think I've seen that before. So the GPU really needs upgrading. Now, what I'm running here at the moment is a very old AMD Radeon HD 7700, I think it is. 7700, 7750? 7700 series card, which is old. And it was not particularly high-end when I bought it, but it was within budget at the time. We've got a building burnt down here. Maybe got a bit of a problem with fire engines getting there in time. Yeah, so an AMD Radeon HD 7700 is an old card. As I say, it wasn't top end when I bought it by any stretch of the imagination, but it did at the time. It got me playing games like Grand Theft Auto 5 and Tomb Raider. The second Tomb Raider, whatever that was called. What else did I play? What did I have in my Steam library? What did I like playing? I don't have much installed. Kerbal Space Program. Left 4 Dead 2, I played a bit of that. Mirror's Edge, Portal 2. These are all older games. Saints Row the Third. What else? So most of these games, you know, they're not what you'd call top-end games nowadays. They're quite old, less demanding games, and the card works fine for those. I mean, it struggles a little bit maybe with GTA 5 and the latest Tomb Raider. You can notice some frame skipping, but you can get by. It's playable. Notch the settings down, and it's fine. But I have noticed a little bit of lag on this game, not just on the stream, which incidentally is now above 20 frames a second, but I have noticed a little bit of lag when actually playing the game. Zooming right into the city at a particularly busy junction, lots going on, and I've noticed it slow down and stutter. So even this game, which is relatively modest at its current size, struggles a bit with the GPU that I've got. And then I'm thinking I want to look at games like Call of Duty Modern Warfare, which is popular, and I've been watching a few Twitch streams that focus around that game, and it looks fun, and I'd like to join in with that. And there's no chance with this card that I've got. I mean, I've not tried it, but I'm pretty certain that there's no chance based on the minimum specs that are published, which I think suggests the next model up. 7600 series or something along those lines. So I don't expect to get much, if anything, out of that. And being a competitive game, when playing multiplayer, I don't want to be at a disadvantage due to frame skips and the like. So I'm not going to go and start playing Call of Duty Modern Warfare on the current card. So I need to think about something better. But this is my dilemma, is do I upgrade PC GPU, which could do with it anyway, or do I go with a PlayStation 4, for example, which is, okay, it's coming towards the end of its generational life cycle. The PlayStation 5 is due for release at the end of this year. But that tends to be how I've worked with consoles anyway. I'll jump in towards the end of the generational cycle rather than right at the start. So do I do that? Go with the PlayStation 4, play Call of Duty Modern Warfare on there. You know, it's all nice and straightforward, plug and play. The people I've been watching stream have been playing on PlayStation 4, so there's a possibility I could join in on their multiplayer games when they do invites. Or I could spend the same amount of money, about £350, give or take, and upgrade the processor in the PC. It's a tricky decision. Unfortunately, I'm not rolling in the old cash So both a GPU and a PlayStation are not on the cards. It's got to be one or the other. And then it's just about what GPU do I go for. And I'm sort of hovering around the RTX 2060. I'm quite keen on the idea of moving from AMD over to NVIDIA. I've got the AMD card in the computer at the moment. I remember when I was last into gaming a few years ago and I was playing GTA 5 and various other games than that. I do remember not being particularly impressed with it. There's also, I wasn't particularly impressed with how it managed the fans. I seem to remember having to go into the control panel and force the fans to spin down when I wasn't playing games. And then manually put them back to automatic, if that makes any sense whatsoever. So I wasn't particularly impressed with the AMD control panel, and I just fancy switching over to NVIDIA. But I'm not sort of wedded to the idea. So the potential is an RTX 2060, which is the mid-range of the current generation, if I understand what's going on correctly, and is probably just about in budget for an RTX card. Otherwise, it'll be going down to a GTX. What is it? 1660? Is that the latest one that I could see available for sale anyway? The RTX 2070 is probably just pushing above my budget, so that's probably not going to be in question. But the 2060, I think, just about would be. Not today, probably not this month, but you know, over time. The who have we got here? Hello, one BA Formula. What CPU GPU do you have now? Well, the GPU is an AMD Radeon HD 7700 series. It's old. It's coping for this sort of game just about, but it does stutter every now and again. I notice some frame drops. And I've been reasonably okay playing older generation games, GTA 5 and whatever. I don't know when he jumps on the stream, but a few other games that have just gone right out of my head. It'll do the older generational stuff. Elder Scrolls, Skyrim. What else do I have on my list? I'm just looking through my Steam library and having a little look at what I actually played. I've got loads of games in here, but I don't really play that many. GTA 5, Elder Scrolls 5, Skyrim, Kerbal Space Program, Left 4 Dead 2, Portal 2, Rise of the Tomb Raider, and yeah, that was on the HD 7700 series AMD card. And they just about cope. I mean, I don't think I would run those at maximum settings. I'd drop them down. But I'd be able to play the games. In terms of the CPU, it is aging. It's an i7, but it's a third generation, 3820. So it is an older processor. It's about, what year are we in now? 2020. It's about 8 years old. But it was high-end at the time. Second best deal would be a 570 or 580. Are they AMD? AMD 570. I'm going to have a look. I was looking at... no, what was I? No, I've misread your message. 570 or 580. Yes, they're AMD. 4 gig or 8 gig. Okay. Let's have a look. AMD 580. I'm in the UK, so that's fine. Graphics card. I put AMD 580 into the search engine. It comes up with currency conversion. Come on, where's that? Why don't I look on Amazon and actually get prices for things? AMD 580. 8. Goodbye. RX 580. 160. That's a fair bit cheaper. Okay, I'm going to make notes. AMD RX 580. Right. Now I'm going to throw a spanner in the works here. I haven't I'm not looking in detail at these now. I'll save that for later because that's going to be dull. Me just reading things off a screen. At the moment, I'm playing in 1080p. and I don't intend to change that in the immediate future, but thinking of future-proofing, how would that change things? If I was to look 5 years down the line, maybe, maybe less, maybe 3 years down the line, upgrading the monitor to a 1440p monitor. So extra resolution. And possibly higher frame rates as well. At the moment on 1080p, 60 frames, that's the maximum this monitor will do. Settings, player variety you want to play, or is some settings less than max on larger games? Yeah. See, at the moment that will be fine. But when I buy things, I like to buy in terms of thinking of longevity. I don't want to buy something today which will be fine for 1 or 2 years, and then I find I'm struggling again. I'd rather have something that is perhaps a little overpowered now, and in 3, 4, 5 years will still be usable then, with dropping things down from ultra down to max or medium. A Radeon 7, is that? Let's have a look. AMD Radeon 7. Yeah, that's out of budget, unfortunately. That's coming up at about £550, £430, £843, goodness me. So that's going to be out of budget. My budget is about £350 maximum, probably. Let's put a currency conversion in there. 350 GBP to USD. So that will probably be about $450. £350 in Britain also includes tax. I know the tax situation is different in the US, so it's not necessarily a straight equation. You're much better off to buy a cheaper car today. Well, there's other ways of looking at this. Money is one thing, and yes, that is an important point. I'm also thinking in terms of resources. Tech does change. That is true. I'm also thinking in terms of the physical resources of the card, in terms of not buying too much stuff. So if I can have one card that will last me 5 years, and then get another one that lasts me 5 years, over the course of 10 years I've used 2 physical cards with the resources that are required to use to create and have that physical card, rather than upgrading every 2 years, for example, in which case over the same period I've doubled the amount of cards and the amount of physical resources, which goes right down from the actual stuff on the card itself to all its packaging, all the stuff to get it onto retail, and all the stuff to get it actually to me. So there's, I mean, it's a drop in the ocean. I know it's a drop in the ocean, but these are all things that go through my mind now, that I need to try and minimise the stuff I buy. So in terms of future-proofing, it's also thinking from that term rather than just from price and just from performance. I'm no way a hardcore gamer. I'm no way thinking I'm going to be going major competitive, you know, going for the absolute best frames per second to get the absolute tiniest little edge over everybody in Call of Duty. That's not going to happen. I've been out of gaming for ages. I've always dipped in and dipped out of gaming. I'm just not that person. So, if I buy a card that's a little bit overpowered now, great, I get the power to run everything perhaps on Ultra or Max. In a few years' time, I can drop it down a little bit. I will still be happy with that. Right, let me just catch up with what I've got here. Tech changes, things like better. Yes, they do. The 5700 is a great card. Yeah, I was looking at that as well. 5700 XT. Yeah. That was another one I was looking at. It's sort of let me get my words out. I was sort of edging over to Nvidia just because the card I've got has been fine. I mean, honestly, it has been fine. I've just been a little bit annoyed about its control panel, and it's a little bit on the noisy side, but that could be very specific to this card. But I've just sort of been mentally edging over to Nvidia. But I'm not wedded to the idea, and the 5700 is a card that I've had a little look at. It's in the list, it's in the contention. I think the price is roughly about the same. Let's have a look. AMD Radeon 5700. I should have put that on Amazon. I've got a million tabs open here. Right. Radeon 5700. Yeah, £320, and I think that came in roughly about the same price as a 2060. Let's see. RTX 2060. Yeah, same sort of ballpark. There's an RTX 2060 here, Gigabyte RTX 2060 OC, £302-ish. So they're in the same sort of ballpark. You're just as happy as when you changed to AMD? Good. Excellent. You think they run smoother? Oh, it's so difficult, isn't it? They give you more memory. Yeah, that's true. That's an 8 gig card compared to a 6 gig card. Yeah, depending on the game. This is the thing I'm finding. It's very difficult to call things one way or another. A little bit more RAM on this card. The RTX 2060, it's got this new snazzy ray tracing thing, which apparently doesn't work very much in lots of games currently, but might do in the future. But then the frame rates get a drop, so. Okay. Any reason? I couldn't comment on either company in terms of I don't know, in terms of what, product quality, ethics, anything else? Fair enough. Both, then, I'll take it. All of it. Oh, great. And AMD is better. And then some. Somewhat, yes. Okay. Well, if there's an ethics issue, maybe I'll have to have a look at it. They're open with their tech. Well, yeah. I used to play around with Linux a bit, and I know Nvidia has a problem with the Linux drivers. So in that regard, AMD was, I think, was the better option. Going to buy some new land. There we go. They both have Linux drivers at work now. Well, it was a while ago. I was playing around with Linux, and we're talking about, goodness, is it going to be 8 years ago? 7 or 8 years since I last messed around with Linux. I had to go back to Windows because of work and games. Linux approaching this thing now. You emulate if you need. Yeah, I'm not going back to Linux, not for the time being anyway. It's very much staying Windows. I've got everything set up for work in Windows, and it'll be too disruptive to move over now. My one PC does everything. Work, games, a lot. But in terms of principle, I mean, at the time it was AMD would be better, but if they're both fine now, then they're both fine now. Let's link up this road. Over there. If I had to buy an Nvidia card, it'll probably be the 2060 Super. Yeah, that's the more recent revision, isn't it? But you would not recommend it. Okay. I will take it under advisement, and I will do my research. Let's curve that round. Can we curve that round? No, absolutely. Everyone's got their opinion. And that's exactly why I titled the stream as I did, to get a few opinions. Because it is a minefield. There's so much choice. I mean, okay, there's between the two companies, there's not much choice. It's Nvidia or AMD. But within them, you've got such a range of products. You think the stream is frozen? Is it frozen, or is it just me not moving around too much? It says we're broadcasting. Can you hear me? We are moving as far as I can see. Let me refresh. Okay, you refresh, and it's back. Okay, good. Whew, I was worried there for a minute. What was I saying? Yeah, in terms of choice, it's between the two companies. Obviously, there's not too much in the way of choice, but within them, there's so much you can go for in terms of power and price and all that sort of thing. And, you know, do you go, like we were saying earlier, do you go cheap and buy more often? Do I buy something with the mindset of, I don't want to run everything on maximum? Do I push the budget out and make it last for longer? You know, there's so much choice, and it's a, well, as someone who's not massive into PC hardware, you know, I have a passing interest and I keep a small interest going, but not massively into it. It can be a bit daunting. The 3600 CPU, the same generation as I got, that is, isn't it? I've been very happy with my processor. I've got a little bit of an upgrade room on the processor, but that's not going to happen for a while because they're still expensive. Where am I going? Up here. Oh, sorry, AMD 3600. I don't need that there. Yeah, I'm not upgrading the CPU at the moment. I know mine is old, but using the mindset of sorry, I'm trying to talk and do this at the same time, doesn't work. Using the mindset of buying something overpowered to last a long time. Back in 2012, I bought the chip that I've got now, and it's done me well. I've got a small room for upgrade to the next generation 4000 series Intel i7, but I don't feel the need to do it at the moment. Just taking a look at the performance on the CPU, at the moment we're just hovering between 35 and peaking at 50 on processor usage at the moment. I think the thing I'll do before upgrading the CPU is upgrade the RAM. But then there's another issue. Do I upgrade RAM, which is DDR3, which is an older standard now, spend the money upgrading this system to 24 or 32 gigabytes of RAM, knowing that those RAM sticks will be stuck with this machine, because if I were to upgrade beyond 4th generation Intel, I'd need a new motherboard, as well as new processor. I then need new RAM, because I dare say, and I haven't researched this, I could be wrong, I dare say newer boards will not be compatible with DDR3, I might be wrong on that. So, yeah, can't upgrade RAM. DDR4, yeah, see, that's what I'm thinking. It's probably not worth it to upgrade DDR3. So if I wanted more RAM, it will probably then be a whole system change. And the required expense for doing that. Not so much fun. I mean, I might have had been more in line to do an upgrade of RAM if the 16 gigs I had in the system now was 2 8-gig sticks. It's not. So I didn't think of this at the time, back in 2012, when I built the system. Or either it was cheaper, but I can't remember. But I did 4-gig sticks. So if I wanted to upgrade, it would be a whole complete replacement of what I've got. Not just buying an extra 8 gigs and sticking it in there, but replacing everything. So I'd have to buy the full 32 gigs. Internal CPU cache bandwidth is more important. Yeah. Internal CPU cache bandwidth is probably going a bit over my head at the moment. 16 gig is still fine for any game today. Yep, I noticed it's still yeah, it's still fine. It's still fine. Exactly, that's the key thing. Although there is streaming to overheads to consider, but we can see how it goes. And again, we can always drop things down if need be to think about making everything work within the resources that are available. Streaming whilst it was 16 gigs is fine. That's good to know. Okay, I'm looking at the specs of games like Call of Duty and seeing they say for their recommended settings, I think it was 12 gigs. So there's a little bit of overhead there, and I dare say just drop things down a little tiny bit will sort out any problems. Not saying 32 gigs is bad, just not required. Yeah, I mean, more's never going to hurt, is it? That's the thing. NVMe SSD, unless you can put it on a PCIe card, not an option here. The board is too old. I can do a bog standard SSD on a SATA interface, which I actually have for the OS at the moment, though not big enough for games. And I know it's a bit of a bottleneck, but I would probably just put a spinning disk in for the games. At least for the time being. I can't afford a high capacity SSD. Probably enough VRAM, you don't need more system RAM. So yeah, so looking at the card, that'll be an advantage then for doing an 8 gig card over a 6 gig card. Yeah, so the thing I've got to remember is just to really not get too bogged down into it, I think. Oh, 16 gig Radeon for 7. No! Too much money. My poor bank balance, my poor credit card. The bank would love me. Yeah, it's getting bogged down into all this. I mean, it's all interesting, but it is really easy to get, as I say, bogged down. You start looking at things, and I was looking between the two cards, the RTX 2060 and the RTX 2070, even. You know, thinking, well, just an extra £50, and it's got X% more performance, and oh, that's great. But then I've got to draw it all back and say, no, there is a budget. Yeah, okay, extra performance is great, and it'll make the card last longer, which is what I keep saying. But there is a limit to that. You know, I could take that to the extreme if I wanted, and say, right, well, let's buy a £1,000 card, top of the range, and that really will last. But the budget just isn't there. So there is a point where I have to say enough's enough. So yeah, 570, 580 is a great card for the money. Yeah, well, I'll keep it in mind. I think with the budget I had in mind of 350, I'm sort of thinking, well, let's just go with that budget. Yes, I could save it and go for something cheaper. But I'm thinking, that's the budget I've got in mind. I was going to go and buy a PlayStation, so that will be about 300, 320. pounds. I was going to go and do that. Therefore, that is the budget. Let's spend that money on a GPU instead. No, it's a fair point, and I thought of that as well. But then I also thought, well, okay, in a few years' time, the system probably will get upgraded. And then I've got a reasonable-ish graphics card, depending on how many years down the line we're talking, with which will maybe benefit from a CPU boost. If you like consoles, just do that. Well, this is the other dilemma. It's all such a dilemma. The computer needs a GPU upgrade. It does. It has to have one. I've got 4K video clips, which, okay, I don't watch them in 4K. I've got a 1080p monitor, but the GoPro records video clips in 4K, and the computer just cannot play them. You open it up, and it's just a stationary image. It just cannot cope with them. So it needs a GPU upgrade, just as a day-to-day thing. Now, I know I could resolve that with a fairly cheap GPU nowadays. Doesn't need too much oomph to play a 4K video file. You know, I've got a newer computer which I use as a server, which has onboard graphics and will play 4K fine with it. Yeah, with the integrated GPU. The CPU I've got at the moment doesn't have any integrated graphics, so all graphical stuff is handled by the Radeon 7700, and they just cannot do it. Not at all. So there is an element of, well, the computer needs the upgrade anyway. The games I want to play are available on PC for the most part. I have a library of games, which, okay, albeit they're older, I have them, and it'll be nice to maybe play them on slightly increased settings. You know, so there's a lot of benefits for doing things through the PC route rather than a PlayStation route. GPU was the Radeon 7700 series HD. Let me open up the task manager again. Hold on. Yeah, HD 7700 series. And try as I might to get it to play a 4K video file recorded from the GoPro, it just does not want to know. Let's have some commercial zones over here. Indeed, that's the sound I make. Lots. 2 gigs, I think. Reasonably sure. Can I see that quickly and easily somewhere? Device manager, does that tell me? So no, I'm not an administrator. Windows 10, yeah. Definitely doesn't. Absolutely doesn't. Not the GoPro files, anyway. I mean, it might play a stream. I haven't tried. You know, if I tried to up the YouTube quality, for example, to 4K where it's available or something like that, it might do it. I don't know. Haven't tried. But in terms of playing a file recorded from a GoPro, doesn't want to know. Oh, sorry. Let's go back to Task Manager. Right, I'm looking under Performance, GPU. Ah, yes, sorry, yes, I missed it. Dedicated GPU memory usage out of 2 gigs, and we're full, pretty much. And then we've got shared memory usage. It's got 8 gigs shared, and that's nothing. So yeah, its memory is maxed out. Well, I say maxed out. 1.8 gigabytes out of 2. Honestly, you're probably going over my head. I mean, when it gets to the finer details of these things, I don't really follow it. All I know is you need memory. Memories for textures. The higher the resolution, the more detailed the textures there are, the more memory you need, and that's about the extent of my knowledge as far as gaming is concerned, and as far as playback of 4K video is concerned. I have no idea, I just know it doesn't work. I don't know. No idea whatsoever. 128-bit bus or a 256-bit? I've no idea at all. If there's somewhere I can look to check it, I will check it for you. Did I want to do that there? No, I didn't. Never mind. GPU Z download. That will tell you all about the good bits. Okay. I'll not look at that now, but maybe I'll have a browse and I'll have to do a ton and tons and tons of reading and research to understand most of it, I dare say. What difference does 128-bit and 256-bit bus make then? Capacity, I presume, is it? How much throughput you've got? You're just throwing numbers. Bandwidth, yeah. Do you reckon that will be what the problem is? Trying to play 4K video files, it just doesn't have the bandwidth to cope with it. Maybe that's a 128-bit bus, and therefore it just cannot get the data through. That makes sense, wouldn't it? Look at me speculating on a possibility and maybe actually getting it right. I'll take that as a win for today. So a 4096-bit bus. If that's the case with modern cards, that can just shows how out of date the one I've got is. If you're saying it's either a 128 or 256-bit card, that's a dramatic difference. Ah, okay, fine. See, complicated. I used to really read up on things on PCs, sort of like around the turn of the millennium, when things were much more straightforward. Now things are complicated. Radeon 7 is using a new style of VRAM called HBM. Okay, high bandwidth memory. Okay. Well, sounds good, but again, no idea. I need a better transport link up here. Let's put in a metro station on the corner. Yeah, high bandwidth memory sounds good. Sounds like something I'd want. But then, so does everything. The other thing about video playback is it's probably not even the GPU chip doing the work. GPUs today have a small encoder decoder chip on them. Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, it's all hardware, isn't it? Which the Radeon 7750 will not have. Hence why it stutters, and hence why integrated GPUs, as is on the modern Intel chips, can deal with the 4K video playback so well. Frankly, I was really surprised when I first tried to play a 4K video file on my basic server, which has, I say basic, it's an i7 processor, but has no dedicated GPU, it's all integrated, and it just played it, and it was absolutely fine. I said, yeah, whatever, 4K, not a problem. So in that case, you want the newest GPU available today, and that card should have an encoder chip too, even your really old one. Okay. Yeah, I do video encoding as well. That's a bit slow on this machine. Again, the server I've got with the integrated GPU blows this machine out of the water. I mean, granted, the server is an 8th generation i7, where this is a 3rd generation i7, so you'd expect it to do vastly better. But they did that because it's a different style of code. Okay. Frankly, even my laptop blows this computer out of the water for video encoding. That's a Dell XPS. Oh, what's that? Oh, it's gone. Dell XPS something or other. I need to plan a bit of public transport here. Where's my hospital gone? There. Should have connected that to that. Right. Just planning my public transport while we ponder all these technical doodahs. Right, I want to run that, a new line, from there to there. And where's my hospital? Over here. To there. And then that can loop around here. To here. And back again. There we go. There we are. Very nice. Two of my favourite things, CS and HW. HW is hardware, yeah? CS is computer stuff. So, yeah, that game I'm playing, or trying to. This is City Skylines. What an idiot. Oh dear. It's still only 10 to 10, and I've only had one coffee. Well done. Let's put some more into it. I'm just going around in circles here, and I'm probably making everyone very dizzy as I spin around, round, 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 round. How's the song going? Round, round. Like a record, baby. More offices. Bit more commercial. Let's keep this as offices. What about, have I zoned that? No. Have I zoned that? That's residential. Main road. Let's put that as offices. I'm still chuckling about that. And let's have some more commercial. There we go. Slowly increase that. If you disable hardware acceleration, okay. Even on a i7-3820, because that'll be software then, won't it? And the CPU will have to do all the work. Well, no, it's an i7, but it is old. Okay, how do I do that? How do I disable hardware acceleration? Okay. Will that be in the playbacks? Yeah, okay, so if it was in VLC, for example, I'd have to look through the settings in there. It's not a Windows setting. Okay, I'll have a look through the settings in detail at some point and see if that makes any difference. If that makes a difference, that would be brilliant. Even as just a stopgap. Because at the moment, my server is headless, and at the moment I have to copy my GoPro files over to the server, do a remote desktop connection to the server, and view them through that. 3720, 3820 CPU, 3820 I think. Let me have a look. CPU 3820, i7 3820. Let's have a look over here and see what's going on. No, desktop. I have a laptop as well, which is newer, and again does everything that I need it to do, apart from play games. It has a dedicated GPU, but not a high-end one. I think it's a mobile 1050 or something. I just don't like playing on the laptop, playing games on it. Got to sort that railway out. Is it unlocked? Probably not. No, I'm not messing around with overclocking. I know where you're going. I think I know where you're going. I'm not messing around with overclocking. It's beyond me. And one thing that is critical, this machine is also my work machine, and I can't have anything that might prevent me very quickly moving from playing a game over to working. It's got to be stable, it's got to be rock solid. It's an old processor now. 8 years. I'm very pleased. I mean, as I said, the idea when I bought it was to spend an absolute fortune, more than I could afford really, to build this machine. The idea would be that it would last a while, because I wanted to end the continuous upgrade cycle that I was in, where I would buy relatively cheap processors and motherboards and all the rest, and then find out that a year later it's just not doing what I needed to do, and then I'd buy another cheap processor that would just about be enough to do what I needed to do, and another year later another upgrade, and so on. So I'm pleased with this machine. It's done very well. It's 8 years going, and it's still, apart from the GPU aspect, it's still running fine. I'll try turning off the hardware acceleration as you suggested, and see if that makes any difference. But certainly, as things stand at the moment, the way things are set up with the machine as it is, bear in mind I've not actually tweaked anything, so this is presumably defaults. It doesn't want to know. But yeah, I will definitely give it a go, because it will certainly be easier than having to faff around copying files across the network to the server, remote desktoping in and viewing these files over remote desktop. Saying that, I mean, viewing them is fine. Then sometimes I need to edit them, so I would guess that's well, I'm not going to say guess. I mean, that's just going to be a no-no. Editing 4K videos is just going to be a no-no. And again, I can do that remotely over the network on the remote desktop connection to the server. That all works absolutely fine. Or the laptop will do that as well. But, the laptop has a habit sometimes of overheating. And I know why that is. That's a known problem with the Dell XPS. It's not got very good thermal paste. At some point, I will open it up and repaste it, and hopefully that would sort the overheating out. What do you mean about scaling? Oh yeah, it's all wired. Gigabit networking between this desktop machine and the server machine. It's all wired in. And then I've got a high-speed Wi-Fi, dedicated Wi-Fi link bridge between where the server is and the telly is in the living room. And that is all more than fine, capable of streaming Yeah, I want to try and play raw 4K footage recorded on a GoPro Hero 7. Hero 7 Black. I mount the camera onto my bicycle. And every now and again, when I get an idiot driver past me, I have to have a look at this 4K footage. Because I record in 4K for the detail to get license plates. Okay, well, I mean, when I say raw, I mean it's coming straight off the camera. No processing. So whatever the camera gives me is what I'm trying to play. Oh, good question. Let me have a look. See if I can find some. Where did I save them? That's the question. Let's have a look in here. Just wait for the disc to spin up. It's an MP4 extension. It's, but I think it's recorded with high efficiency video character HEVC. So was I. Do it anyway. I have a leg problem. Can't bend my right leg. I have a very weird pedalling method, but it works. And I'm getting fitter and slowly either losing weight or have less problem just eating what I like. So just do short trips. Hop on a bike, short trips, couple of miles, get used to that, and then once you've done a couple of miles, do 3 miles. Just gradually increase it. Before you know it, you're all over the place. Yeah, here too. Very cold today. The sun's out, but it is freezing. For us moving snow, we haven't had snow. Whereabouts are you? Minnesota, is that? Yes. I'm going to show my geographical ignorance now, and I'm going to put that on a map because I have no idea where that is. Okay, so you're sort of top mid. Me, I'm in the English Midlands. And yeah, we've not had any snow. We get snow sometimes. We've had some heavy snowfalls, probably nothing like what you guys get, but we have had some heavy snowfalls in winter, in the winter time. Often January can get it, but nothing this year. Just cold. Oh, I can imagine, yeah. Big area to clean. So is that a plough job, is it? Just use the tractor. Very wise. Not a job for a bog standard snow shovel. I'm going to make this a little tiny bit denser. No, can't build there. Why can't I build there? Because I've got the curve on, that's why. From there. It's a different world, frankly. All I know about tractors in the UK is that I keep out of their way when I'm on my bicycle. Because they're big, I'm small, they're hard, and I'm squishy. Yes. Right, I'm going to call this in about 5 minutes' time, I think. Just as a heads up. I need to create a link to this road here, really. Let's have an exit. There you are. You can get in, but nobody can leave. Streaming is fairly new for me. I was getting rather addicted to watching a broadcaster who I'm quite the fan of stream Call of Duty Modern Warfare. And I thought, well, that looks fun. And I thought, you know, I could do a bit of streaming as well. Why not? And in the last week, really, has been when I started, and work's been quiet, so I've done a stream a day. Just playing City Skylines mainly. I did a bit of retro stuff. Very first time I started streaming, I was playing Magic Land Dizzy on the Commodore 64 emulated, which was a favourite game from my youth, which I've never completed, and I still have not completed. So at some point I'll be returning to that. Now I know what I've got to do. Whoops. So yeah, so there's been a bit of retro stuff, and it's been City Skylines, because I know my computer can sort of cope with it, although I'm sure you're noticing the slightly stuttery frame rate. Hi Keanu Gaming, NL, are you over in Holland? I love Holland. I have a family connections to Holland. Stream is good, thank you very much. This is the first sort of stream I've done which has been very much a sort of a casual chat, if you like. Because last night, I was browsing these GPUs and I thought, you know, I'll bring it up on the stream. Which seems to have worked well, because I've got 5 viewers. Greetings, viewers. And normally I'll maybe pick up 1 or 2, so that's good. Thank you, the mic sounds good. That is just the bog standard webcam. You should normally be able to see me as well, but you can't see me for reasons unknown. The webcam didn't load with OBS this time, so you can't see me today. Normally you'd be able to. Keanu Gaming, there are no mods. This is a vanilla copy of City Skylines. Mods will probably come at some point. I want to put the Disasters mod, or DLC, sorry. Put the Disasters DLC on there at some point. What else do I want to put on there? Green Cities at some point will go on there. And as for mods, I don't know. Haven't looked at them yet. But I got this game in 2018-ish, I think it was. Played it a little bit. Thought, yeah, that's nice, and then forgot about it and didn't really play it much after that. And then I just thought, well, you know, I want to try this streaming thing out. Let's put City Skylines on. I used to love SimCity 3000 and that sort of thing. And I'd sort of get lost in that game and spend hours upon hours doing that. And so I thought, oh, I'll put that City Skylines on and do some streams with that and have a little play. And I've sort of got sucked into it this time round. And yeah, I haven't even thought about DLCs too much and modding the game. Just sort of achieving the milestones as they come up. And trying to solve little problems as they come up. I've noticed my cemeteries are getting a bit full, so I'll have to sort that out at some point. Yeah, and it's been quite good fun. But mods will come, I would think. Game is huge with mods. I bet it is. I bet it is. And that'll make me wish I had a faster CPU. Well, one thing at a time. One thing at a time. 1 terabyte laptop works with mods. 1,000 mods you can use. 100. That's the max for me. 100 mods. That sounds like a whole new world to delve into. But that will be for another time. Right, it is 10:05. It is time for me to go and grab a coffee. So I am going to wind things up and say thank you very much for joining the stream. 1B Formula, thank you very much for all the advice and chat around GPUs and the like, even though some of it definitely was over my head, but it's all interesting and I appreciate the you taking the time. And I will carry on researching, and at some point I will buy something and install something. Won't be this week, probably won't be this month, but at some point, let's say this year, when the funds come through. My work's been quiet. When work picks up and people start paying me, then that will be on the shopping list. Thank you for the follow, Kiana Gaming NL. Much appreciated. Anyone else on the stream, anyone watching, do click the follow button if you want to keep up with when I am streaming, and make sure you've got the notification button ticked as well, and you'll get your little pings from your Twitch app if you have that installed, saying that I am broadcasting when I'm broadcasting, and you can see how this fledgling little city carries on growing and how I decide to build things and change things and all the rest. But yeah, I think that will call it. Thanks once again, and hopefully I will catch you all another time. Bye-bye for now.